I can absolutely give you an updated version on how to read the High Republic Phase 3, the last phase in the High Republic Publishing Initiative. This reading guide is specifically for the books, the young adult, middle grade, adult books in the High Republic Phase 3, but I do highly recommend the comics, specifically Shadows of Starlight, which takes place in like the months, I think about a year between the end of the High Republic Phase 1 and the beginning of the High Republic Phase 3. It has some great story arcs on getting us caught up to like what's been going on with the characters since in that like year period. So you finish with the High Republic Phase 1, hopefully Phase 2 as well, but you finish with Phase 1 and then you have read Shadows of Starlight. The first book in the High Republic Phase 3 that you're going to read is The Eye of Darkness by George Mann. In my initial review for this book, I called it a like Empire Strikes Back moment, even like a little bit like Return of the Jedi moment. Like the Republic, the Jedi are very much on the defensive. They are struggling. They are very, very low by the time of this book, but the progress that they make in the fight against the Nihil is so important. And this book is gut-wrenching. It's dark, but it ends on such a hopeful note, and I absolutely loved this book. It was a great first entry into the High Republic Phase 3. I know a lot of people want to skip like the middle grade books, but I always highly recommend not doing that. I cannot recommend the middle grade books enough. So if you are reading the High Republic Phase 3, after you finish The Eye of Darkness, you're going to go to Escape from Valo, and this is a little bit of a side quest, but not in a way that like is boring or like not important to like the whole overarching plot of the High Republic, specifically in Phase 3. This is, we are returning to Valo, which was from the Rising Storm. Like, oh my gosh, all these titles. This is from the Rising Storm, and this was the site of the Republic Fair that was like brutally attacked by the Nihil. And we are following a cast of Jedi younglings and a Padawan as they kind of like fight to reclaim this part of Valo, like Lonisa City, and also to like escape because it's very dangerous there. It's overrun with Nihil, and as Jedi, like they are in really big danger. But this introduces us to some of the most adorable and just lovable Jedi younglings like in the entire franchise. And again, like, don't skip this book. After the middle grade book, you're going to go to the first young adult book in the High Republic Phase 3, which is Defy the Storm. This was also a lot of fun, and I will say that it is a bit of a sequel to Out of the Shadows by, yes, Justina Ireland here. And so if you are a big Vernestra fan, if you are a big fan of like the characters and kind of the plot points of Out of the Shadows, so there's like Silent Graph, we have Jordana Sparkburn, Avon Sunvale now in this, so it's very much like a continuation of like the themes and the plot points of that book, but set in like, you know, a year plus later. I will say that this one does drag a little bit. I liked it way better than Out of the Shadows, but I still had, there's so much packed into this book that when I finished it, overall, I think I maybe gave it like 4 stars, but just like there's certain points that happen in this book and certain character work where I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. But yes. Next, Defy the Storm. This is a young adult novel. Don't skip this one either. After that, you will move on to what is now my favorite book in the entire High Republic era so far. We still have a few books to go to claim that title, but you're going to read Temptation of the Forest by Tessa Gratton. I am still speechless over this book. This was so satisfying, so hopeful, so beautiful, so gut-wrenching, and just honestly masterful work when it comes to describing the Jedi's relationships with each other, with the galaxy, with the Force, and like how they can utilize their compassion and like sense of attachment to like light and life. I mean, like infinity stars for this book. I am obsessed. I'm absolutely obsessed with this book. Amazing. After Temptation of the Force, we have another middle grade book, and that is Beware the Nameless by Zoraida Cordova. This introduces or reintroduces some of the Jedi younglings that you see in Escape from Valo. They are back, and also introduces Churro the Hutt, which I love this little man. He is so adorable. He has the like Neil energy, like from Skeleton Crew. I mean, they're just like my precious baby boys, and I want the best for them, and I want them to be so happy. But this, for a middle grade book, it does get surprisingly dark with some of the themes and some of the things that these younglings have to experience. But again, it's middle grade, it's for kids. However, do not skip these books. These are just so much fun. Lastly, for the High Republic Phase 3 books that have already come out, you're going to read Tears of the Nameless by George Mann. This is another young adult book. This was so good. This was packed full of just like juicy lore about the Star Wars galaxy, just about the Nameless themselves. This book answered pretty much all of the questions that I have about the Nameless. I have another video on my page that explains, with this book, we finally got like the definitive origins of what the Nameless creatures are, how they got to the galaxy, what their deal is, with heavy hints as to like what the Jedi and the Republic are going to have to do to like fight back and to like win this kind of like ongoing conflict that they're having with the Nihil and with the Nameless. And it'll honestly will make you think about the Nameless a lot differently than what you probably have been thinking about them. You will probably feel for them, and it'll be really heartbreaking. And Wreath and Amadeo, the two Jedi on the cover here, they get put through the ringer in this book. Like, it is rough going, but the character work and the growth and just like the power that they come into in this book is just absolutely incredible. All right, last but not least, the final 3 books in the High Republic Phase 3, and just final 3 books in the High Republic overall. We have an adult book, we have a young adult book, and we have a middle grade book left to go. This is the last wave. I cannot believe it's almost over. First, we have Into the Light, and that's a young adult book. Then we have A Valiant Vow, middle grade book. And then finally, the end all be all, the grand finale is Trials of the Jedi. The way that I've talked about all of these books, the way that I've listed them, are the preferred reading order. It is roughly release order, and that's what a lot of the like Star Wars authors, the creators, storytellers behind this phase recommend, is reading them in the order in which they come out, which makes sense. With the which normally has been like adult book, middle grade, and then young adult book. With the end of the High Republic, it's a little reverse. So we're getting the young adult book first, then the middle grade, then the adult book, and that's for a reason. That's the preferred reading order. So the next young adult book to come out is Into the Light. Then we'll have the middle grade book, A Valiant Vow, and then we will end with Trials of the Jedi. Any other questions about the High Republic Phase 3 or just the High Republic in general, please let me know. I love talking about this phase of Star Wars books.